All right. Hey, we're going to talk about some AI trends that are going on right now in marketing and just the best practices, what we've seen, and how we're going to utilize that better. We're going to start with Lupe, who has a little bit of information she wants to share with us.
Thanks, Matt. As we have gotten into the Great Resignation and finding and hiring talent has become more and more difficult, our company is really working to help other companies identify candidates. One of the things that we've noticed and we've heard from the industry and the marketplace is that response to a candidate is more important now than ever. And so part of our solution, our RPO solution, includes AI as part of the recruiting process. So the minute an application is submitted, there is some conversation that begins with the candidate. There's some analysis that begins with the candidate, and then we work to kind of accelerate them through the process. So it's a way of engaging early. It's a way of learning from the questions, the typical questions that come up. And it's a way of getting to, this is the right candidate, let's make an offer, and getting them off the market. So that's something that we've done.
Great, thank you so much. Follow up. Anybody else have Annie? Let's go to Annie first, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a really good use case. And I know something that we're all looking to accelerate. I've actually got 3 open headcount right now, as a matter of fact. In terms of how I've found AI to be the most helpful in marketing is really in the writing arena. I use a combination of AI writing tools, Grammarly being one that people are probably most familiar with. There's also a tool called Outright, which helps you rephrase. And then there are other tools that allow you to actually put in a few keywords and create an ideal LinkedIn post, an ideal social post, anything, product descriptions. I mean, the list goes on, and it really accelerates the process. In terms of effectiveness, I've been using them for a couple of years now, and I would say in the last 6 months or so, there's been a tremendous improvement in writing quality. And what's so great is because with writing, oftentimes you find yourself getting into a situation where you might have writer's block, and it helps break through that with new ideas and new phraseology that can be interesting. And then I also use other tools where you can plug it in and automate SEO and get automatic suggestions on how to strengthen what you're writing, and compare it against competitors and that kind of thing. So there's just a number of tools that I use to ensure that whatever content we're producing is produced as quickly as possible and for impact against the right audience.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. Shar, yes, the young lady with the hand up over there. Shar.
There you go. One of the things that we've been doing since we service different clients in different verticals, one, we've used AI for automation to save them on labor and mistakes and errors. I think that's a big problem for a lot of companies, is just having someone solely focused on consistency, because across the board, that's a big problem for a lot of brands, to be super consistent, on message, on point, and then having a more of a themed approach to their marketing, both visible as well as content. The second way we've been using AI is actually, this has been valuable, is in building their networks. A lot of times, LinkedIn has been a great place for people to land, to connect, and to build. But a lot of these other companies network outside of LinkedIn. They network outside of these traditional groups. And so we've been using AI as a way for them to qualify, to make connections, to speed up the dating process, to get to customer, but also in getting channel partners and partner programs. That's been a huge component for us. And then the third way we've been using AI specifically, just on the back end, just like Annie was saying, was for content. That definitely is one. Graphics, just kind of that automation piece of it, and then really seeing what works and what doesn't work quickly with data. So we're using data more now for our initiatives and our strategies versus, what the community is saying or what the customer is saying. We're using data to say, A and B testing. This is the reason why we're going with A, and we're going to stay consistent with that for 30, 60, 90-day intervals because our data shows this. That's been really helpful for our clients.
That's great. Thank you, Char. Let's go to Sylvia.
Wow, I feel like everything was covered. And
Okay.
no, I think all of that is really fascinating. We're also looking at content engines in the same way that Annie is using them. We're also starting to rely on some aspects of LinkedIn and how we can build AI into the experience there in creating those better connections. We are also building AI and machine learning into our own platform, and it's very data driven. I mean, so marketing is a very interesting thing because it is very data driven at this point. I live on the brand side where I've got to figure out how to balance that, what the data analytics are telling me and what AI is telling me, with also making sure that there's an infusion of passion still, and that the brand is still stand out, and that it's not just necessarily what's the word I'm looking for when you are when you're pushing a message out there and it's just like, it's like clickbait. You want to still have great language in there that's really infusing the passion of your brand. And so there's a lot of things there that I still think that we need to learn. And I really want to talk with Lupe in the near future regarding how AI is working for you in the hiring process, because I've got 5 recs open. We've got a lot more to come at this moment. And I'm just curious, you know, how AI is changing in the way where it is not instilling racism. And there's actual diversity kind of built into that, because there's been some concern there. So I'm really curious about that in the future.
That's a great point. And we have the same problem with open recs that we have been unable to fill. So Lupe, maybe you, me, and Sylvia can get together and chat about that.
Yeah.
And then last and certainly not least, Toni.
There are actually 2 areas where we've looked at AI, some more progressive than others. And I think the focus always has been on the data, because that really is how you ultimately make the decision. So the one area that we started to do, we built a new website based on Sitecore. And the whole thrust of that website was built on the ability to do personalization. And so there is a real learning from the standpoint of what people, the order they go to places, what they download, what they, you know, it's kind of augments in some way a marketing automation system, so that when someone comes in, you know where they've been and you know what they might want to do. So it tries to figure out what they're looking for. And then the other place we've actually used it is kind of in that extension of the integration of a marketing automation and a Salesforce automation system or a CRM system, such that as stuff goes from the marketing database into the sales database, there's a learning of what happens as long as the sales guys ultimately add the information, in which we've been able to actually change how we did the integrated campaign based upon the data. So all of a sudden we see things that are working, things that weren't working, and we see it through both the sales and the marketing lenses. So those are the 2 areas that we've definitely used. I mean, certainly I think in my world, the data analytics person is becoming the most important person on my team.
I think the most important thing you said there to me was actually getting your salespeople to put the data into the system. So if anybody has a really good way to make sure they're doing that, that might be a topic for another day that we can talk about. So thank you so much for sticking around for this panel. And we look forward to seeing you guys next month. We'll get the dates out here shortly of when that's going to be. We appreciate you making the time, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. See ya.